Today we're going to be working with multiplying decimals. So here's our learning target. I can multiply decimal numbers by single digit numbers using place value charts and area models. So by now we've worked a lot with place value charts and we know that they look like this. But today we are also going to use our area model to practice multiplication. However, I want us to start out by just focusing on our place value chart. So let's just grab that back. And I want you to follow along with me on your place value charts as we multiply a couple of decimal fractions. So let's start by showing 2/10 on our place value chart. 2/10 using number discs. It should look something like this. Now what if I ask you to have 3 sets of 2/10? What would that look like on your place value chart? For me, it would look something like this. Okay, so if we have 3 copies of 2/10, how many tenths would we have in all? Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths in all. Now, how can we write that as a multiplication sentence? Turn and talk with your partner. How would we write that as a multiplication sentence? So if you and your partner came up with 3 times 2/10 equals 6/10, or 2/10 3 times equals 6/10. Good work. There are a couple of other ways we could write this as well. See if you can come up with those. Okay, now I want you to work with your table group using number disc on your place value chart to find the value of 3 times 3/10 and also 4 times 3/10. So for 3 times 3/10, we would draw 3/10 in our place value chart and make sure that there are 3 copies of that in there, which would then give us a total of 9/10. Now 4 times 3/10 is a little bit more complicated. So if we have 3/10 once again, and we want to make 4 copies, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we write this as a decimal? I'm thinking I'm counting 12 number discs, so I'll put a 12 in my tenths column. So would the answer to this multiplication sentence be 0.12? Turn and talk with your table groups. Is this correct? And if not, why? So as many of you probably talked about, we need to do some grouping here. I need to get 10 of these and move them over and make one number disc in my ones column. So I can get rid of these, and what I end up with is 1, 1, and 2/10. So the answer to this problem is 1.2, or 1 and 2/10. Okay, so now we're going to try something a little bit more complicated. Work with your table group to see if you can figure out how to represent 2 times 43 hundredths on your place value chart. And go ahead and try to solve this equation as well. So as you worked with your table groups, you should have put 4 number discs in our tenths column and 3 in our hundredths. But now this is asking us to make 2 copies of each of those. And if we combine what we have in each column, I have 8/10 here now, and 6/100. I end up with an answer of 86/100. Now, if I think about that and try to decide if that's reasonable, I'm thinking, you know what, I know that 43/1 doubled is about 86, so it makes sense to me that 43/100 doubled would be 86/100. Okay, so now is the time that we are going to try to use an area model to solve the same problem. So for the area model, we represent one value on the side and one value on the top. So we're going to go ahead and represent our 2 on the side, and we have 1, 2 values that we want to represent for 43/100. So we're going to put 2 columns and put our 4/10 here and our 3/100 here. Okay, so now, just like we do when we're calculating area, we're going to multiply them together. So I know that 2 times 4/10 is going to give me 8/10. And 2 times 3/100 is going to give me 6/100. Now, if I add the 2 together, I will get my total area for the area model. And that is going to give me 86/100. Because if I add my my tenths together and my hundredths, then I will end up with 86/100. Now I want you to take a second and talk with your table group about the differences and similarities that you see between our place value model and our area model. What differences and similarities do you see? And which one do you think you like better? Okay, so now I want you to try it on your own. I want you to do 2 times 423 thousandths, and I want you to show me on your place value chart and on your area model. Go ahead and compare this place value chart and area model to what you got when you tried it on your own. Okay, now I want you to try this problem. 4 times 423 thousandths. Now this problem is going to require that you do some bundling and moving. So try seeing what that looks like here and what bundling looks like here as well. So I got my place value chart and my area model all set up, but I haven't solved yet because I wanted to show you how I go about bundling. So when you bundle, it's important that you start as far to the right as you can on your place value chart, because otherwise you're going to bundle over here and then you might end up needing to bundle again because you send some hundredths to the tenths column, and it just makes the whole process easier if you start on the thousandths. So I'm going to look for a group of 10. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm going to grab that group and I'm going to shift it over to the hundredths column. Now I'm going to look for 10 here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Don't have enough to bundle there. So then I'll look in my tenths column. I have 4, 8, 9, 10. I'll grab those and bundle 10 tens and make it a 1. So now I can drop down with my answer. I have 1, 1, 6/10, 9/100, and 2 thousandths for an answer of 1 and 692 thousandths. Now, if I try that on my area model, it should be the same thing. So I have 4 times 4 tenths, which will give me 16 tenths. 4 times 2 hundredths, which will give me 8 hundredths. And 4 times 3 thousandths, which will give me 12 thousandths. So, if I add these all up together, which will look like 1.6, 0.08, 0.012, and remember, when we add up, we need to line them up, so make sure that all my place values are lined up. I want my tenths with my tenths, my hundredths with my hundredths. So 2, 9, 6, and 1. 1 and 692 thousandths. Very cool. The next thing I want to show you is what you might have seen before, which is all of this work in the standard algorithm. So we'll just leave our place value chart and whatnot over here. So this might look really familiar to you, especially if you've seen your parents multiply like this before. So if we take the problem, 4 times 423,000, I'm going to put my longer number at the top, so 0. And by longer, I mean the most digits. It doesn't mean more, because we all know that 4 is greater than 423 thousandths. So line them up like this. 4 times 3 is 12. So I'll bundle and carry that 1 over to my hundredths. 4 times 2 is 8, plus add my new hundredth, 9. 4 times 4 is 16, so I have my 6 tenths, and I carry over to the ones column, and I can also get my answer that way. 1 and 692 thousandths. So now you have 1, 2, 3 different ways of multiplying decimals. So one of these might be your favorite, and you're welcome to use that one. But I want to see that you're able to do all 3. So if we go back to our learning target, hopefully you feel like you can multiply decimal numbers by single digit numbers using place value charts and area models. And this right here, just to make sure you remember the name, that academic vocabulary, standard algorithm. Now I'm going to have you try it on your own on your problem set, and then we'll do our exit ticket.